Okay, good evening, everyone. So in the last class, we covered the life cycle rules, right? So in this session, we will go with another feature called replication rules. So what might be this replication rules means? First, what is the meaning of a replication? What is the meaning of a replication? Replication is nothing but a kind of a copy the data, right? So by using this replication feature, we can copy the data from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket automatically. Let us say we have one S3 bucket. So we created one S3 bucket in Northern Virginia region. Okay, so every day your employees or your developers, whoever, they would like to upload the objects into the S3 bucket. Now I would like to maintain the same copy of the data in a different S3 bucket. So that can be in the same region or in a different region. The use case might be a different use case. One, you can use the data in the different bucket as a backup purpose, or you can maintain the data in a different region so that the people or employees from that particular region can access the objects from the second bucket. So here, my goal is whatever the objects uploaded into this bucket to be automatically copied to the second bucket. So here I will call this as a source bucket and I will call this as a destination bucket. My organization goal is whatever the objects already available or uploading into the source bucket should be exist in another bucket called destination bucket in a different region. The use case might be as a backup. The use case might be as a backup purpose. So generally what we have to do to all the employees or the users, whoever is trying to upload the objects into the source bucket, we need to request them to upload the same object into the destination bucket. Sometimes if they miss to upload into the destination bucket, the data is not available there, right? In the manual process, sometimes there might be mistakes and we might not be able to maintain the same exact copy of the data in a destination bucket. In this case, Amazon is providing you a feature called replication rules. Amazon is providing you a feature called replication rules. By using this replication rule, we can create a rule on this bucket. So what this rule will do is, this rule continuously monitor this particular source bucket. Whenever there is a new object uploaded to the source bucket, automatically it will copy the same object as it is to the destination bucket. And here there is no restriction that both the buckets to be in the same region. You can create the source bucket in Northern Virginia region, and you can create the destination bucket in Mumbai region. Now the question is how this rule will identify that there is a new object got uploaded. So let us say this user uploaded one object called 1.txt. In the backend, what kind of action will happen? Whenever there is a new object, in the backend, there will be an operation called put operation. If you are downloading the object, that is called as get operation. That will be happens on the backend. Okay, so this particular rule will continuously monitor for is there any put action is happening. Whenever there is a put action happening on the source bucket, whatever the object got uploaded using the put action, that object will be automatically replicated to the destination bucket. Now, what about already existing objects? Let us say I created this object at like 6 p.m. and I uploaded two objects at 6:10 p.m. and I created this rule at 6:15 p.m. So generally how this replication rule works in this case? For already existing objects, there is no put operation or put action after 6:15 p.m., right? So by default, the replication rule will not replicate already existing objects into the destination bucket. The moment once you create the replication rule, from that moment onwards, whenever there is a new object uploaded, that object will be automatically replicated. Then what about these existing objects? How can you move that? So we have a way that we have to download and we have to upload manually. Again, if it is like a very few objects, we can manually download and we can manually upload. What if there are like thousands of objects already existing in your S3 bucket? We cannot download those many objects manually, right? Because while we are doing that, there might be some problem, like we might miss few files. So in the olden days, like few months back, there is an option called, we can use CLI, command line interface, and we can use the command to copy all the objects from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket. But recently, Amazon introduced a concept called job. At the time of creating the replication rule, Amazon will ask you that, would you like to create a job to copy the existing objects from the source bucket to destination bucket? And this is an optional job, optional step. If you configure that particular step, then automatically all the objects will be replicated. But in the olden days, there is no such job exist, and we have to replicate existing objects from the source bucket to the destination bucket. So for now, we can remember, like we have an option called feature called job, create job. By creating the job, we can replicate all the existing objects from the source bucket to destination bucket. In the olden days, we call this replication rule as cross-region replication. If someone asks you about cross-region replication, that is same as the replication rule. Why they use it to call it as a cross-region replication is, in the olden days, the replication is only possible across two buckets which are available in two different regions. But now you can maintain the buckets in the same region or across two different regions also. That's why they rename the concept as replication rules. Okay, right. So first, what is the replication rules? What is the use of a replication rule? Copy, but technically we have to call it as a replicate. We can copy or we can replicate. The meaning of the replicate is copy the objects. By using the replication rule, we can copy the objects from source bucket to destination bucket automatically. What is the source bucket means? From which bucket we are copying. Destination means to which bucket we are copying the data. Okay. So on whatever the bucket we are creating the replication rule, that is called as a source bucket. Because in this diagram also, I mentioned that the replication rule got created here, right? The replication rule is created on this bucket. On which bucket you create the rule, from that bucket, the data will be copied. So that is called as a source bucket. So we have to create the replication rule on source bucket. And here there is one minimum requirement, which is versioning must be enabled to create replication rules. Versioning must be enabled on both the buckets, source and destination bucket. If you don't enable versioning, the replication rules will not work. Even you cannot create the replication rule. So while we are doing the practical, what we do is, I will create the buckets without versioning, and I will try to create the replication rule so that it will give you a message that versioning must be enabled on both source and destination buckets. And versioning is a mandatory to configure the replication rules. And the replication can be done across S3 buckets within the same region or across two different regions. There is no restriction on that particular replication rules. The source and destination buckets can be in the same region or they can be across two different regions also. But the important thing is the versioning must be enabled. So while we are creating, we can configure a lot of things there. If I delete the object from the source bucket, that has to be deleted from the destination bucket or not, everything we can configure. We will discuss about that also, because that has to be configured according to the requirement. So there are two different use cases, right? There are two different use cases for the replication rule. What are those two different use cases? One is for backup purpose, right? Like you can maintain all the data in a different bucket as a backup. What might be the other use case? Any guess? The first use case will be as a backup. Data can be copied to destination bucket as a backup. So can you guess what might be the other use case? Generally, we don't use that second use case, but there is another use case. Or in what kind of situations the replication rules will help you? So here, this is our S3 bucket, right? And let us say the S3 bucket is in Northern Virginia region. Okay, so you have a different offices, one in US and one is in India. Whenever the people from US is trying to access the objects, like reading the objects, they can download the objects quickly. But what if a user from India office is trying to access, like whenever he is trying to download, what will happen? There will be a latency, right? Just to avoid that, we can maintain another bucket in a different region, which is in Mumbai. And we can ask these India users to access the objects from this particular S3 bucket. And instead of uploading the data individually to the Mumbai bucket, we can configure the replication rule on the Northern Virginia bucket. So whenever anybody uploads any object, that will be automatically replicated to here, so that the object will be available to access from the nearest location to these users. That is the another use case for your replication rules. But most of the time, the replication rules can be used as a backup purpose. Let us say everybody will use the source bucket only, the Northern Virginia bucket. Someone might delete the object accidentally. So that will be deleted here, but that will not be deleted from the destination bucket. That's how it will work. That will be available, even though you can configure to delete, but that will be available in the backend. Why? Because we enable the versioning, right? What is the concept of a versioning? Even if you delete the object will not be deleted permanently. Instead, the object will be marked with a delete marker, right? So that's why if you delete any object from the source bucket, the same will be deleted from the destination bucket also, but that will be available in the backend. What if I delete the object permanently from the source bucket? It will not be deleted from the destination bucket. If that object got deleted permanently from the destination bucket, we cannot use this concept as a backup concept, right? That's why it will not be allowed. We will check that practically, like what all we can do or what are the limitations and all the things we can see. Okay, so first thing what we do is, like the second use case is to provide low latency access to the objects by maintaining in a different bucket. Now what we do is, let us implement that replication rules. Let us implement the replication rules to copy the data from one bucket to another bucket automatically. Just give me a second. So now what we do is, so we have to do multiple things here. Create a replication rule on source bucket to replicate the objects to destination bucket automatically. And make sure that before creating the replication rule, in the source bucket, there must be some object so that we can check that job concept also, like how to automatically replicate the objects from existing objects from source bucket to destination bucket. So here what we do is create a source bucket, and I will name it as a source 6 July 2022 in Northern Virginia region, and then create a destination bucket. And create these buckets without versioning, so that we can observe, we can confirm that without versioning, you cannot create the replication rules. And then upload 3 objects into source bucket, and then create replication rule on source bucket to copy the data into destination bucket. So while creating the replication rule, it will ask you to enable the versioning that we will observe. So now here, once we are done with this, whatever the objects you upload into the source bucket, those objects will be automatically replicated to the destination bucket. But the existing objects cannot be replicated to the destination bucket. To do that, we have to create a job. We call it as a batch job that we will include while creating this particular replication rule. Then upload a few objects into source bucket and observe that the objects got replicated to the destination bucket. By default, existing objects cannot be replicated by the replication rule. So we create a batch job to replicate all the existing objects from source bucket to the destination bucket. If we don't create that batch job, then the existing objects cannot be replicated to the destination bucket. So if you like to check, you can execute the same steps 2 times, like one without creating the batch job and the another rule by creating a batch job, so that you can confirm that because of the replication rule, the existing objects cannot be replicated. But because of the batch job, which is a one-time job, because of the batch job, all the existing objects will be replicated from the source bucket to the destination bucket. So have we noted down like versioning is a mandatory? Yeah, okay. Okay, so now let us start with the creation of the buckets and all the things. Even you can check the same replication rule with the two buckets in the same region. Now I'm going to show you with two buckets across two different regions. One is in Northern Virginia and the second one will be in the Mumbai. Okay, so just log into your Amazon account and go to S3 service. That is the place where we can create all our S3 buckets. So here, let me click on create bucket. And the bucket name, I will use the bucket name as we mentioned in the document. And here region, I will select Northern Virginia region. And just scroll down. If you would like to make any object to be public, you can enable all the required options to make it as a public. Then click on create bucket. So if you see, just I created a default bucket without versioning enabled. So there is no versioning enabled on the source bucket as of now. Okay. And now we have to create another bucket called destination bucket, and the destination bucket to be in Mumbai region. So enter the bucket name. So how to create this in the destination in the Mumbai region? In the AWS region, click on the drop down menu and scroll down to find out the Mumbai. The code of the Mumbai region is AP South 1. Then just scroll down and here you can see versioning. I selected disable. I'm not enabling it. Click on create bucket. What is the next step? Let us upload 3 objects into the source bucket. Just to check that using the batch job, we can replicate the existing objects also. So how to upload the objects into the source bucket? Click on your source bucket, upload, and just you can upload any of your 3 objects. Any objects you can upload. Let me upload 3 objects. And I am uploading them into standard storage class. By default, all the objects will be replicated, uploaded to the standard storage class. You can cross-check that also. So now I'm going to create the replication rule on the source bucket. What is the meaning of that is, if I create the replication rule on this bucket, this will be act as a source bucket. If I create the replication rule on this will become a source bucket. That means that is a source for copying the data, like a kind of a from. Okay, so click on the source bucket to create the replication rule, and then click on management tab. Click on management tab. And if you scroll down, you can find out an option called replication rules. So under replication rules, click on create replication rule. Click on create replication rule. So on which bucket we clicked on create replication rule? Source is something starts with source, right? That source bucket, that bucket will become a source bucket. So automatically you can see the source bucket name is the bucket on which we are creating the replication rule. Okay. So now what is the warning message here? Replication requires versioning to be enabled for the source bucket, but we created the source bucket without versioning enabled. So without enabling the versioning, you cannot proceed further. So before creating the rule, you can enable it, or directly you can click on enable bucket version. So automatically the versioning will be enabled on the source bucket, because as of now, AWS don't know about what is the destination bucket, to which bucket we are replicating the data. That is not known to the AWS. So here you can give some name. I can say my rule 1. You can use any name, that doesn't matter. Status, you have to select enabled. By default, that will be enabled will be selected. Then scroll down. So what objects you would like to replicate? Would you like to replicate all the objects or only few objects? The same as the life cycle rule. If you would like to replicate the only few objects with a specific tag or with a specific prefix, then you have to select the limit the scope of this rule using one or more filters, and you can mention the prefix here, or you can mention the tags. So whatever the objects are having a specific tag, only those objects will be replicated. If I select apply to all objects, what will happen? Whatever the object uploaded to the source bucket, that object will be replicated to the destination bucket. So under the choose a rule scope, select apply to all objects in the bucket. Under choose a rule scope, select apply to all objects in the bucket. So we have selected the source bucket and we have defined which objects to be replicated. So now the question is, to which bucket the data to be replicated? That you have to select in the destination part. So here you have to select a destination bucket. So where is the destination bucket? Mumbai, that is a region, right? Okay. The destination bucket is in the same Amazon account. If you would like to replicate the data to the bucket which is in a different Amazon account, then you have to select the specify a bucket in another account. But here we have a bucket in the same account. So select choose a bucket in this account. And here you have to type the name of the destination bucket, or you can click on browse S3 and you can select the destination bucket. I mean, to which bucket you would like to replicate the data. Select the destination bucket and click on choose path. And what is the warning here? Again, it is showing the warning that the destination bucket requires versioning must be enabled. So click on enable bucket versioning. So now there is no warning and you can proceed. And here you can see the destination region is automatically selected based on the region of your S3 bucket. Okay. So here, what is happening? Okay. So what is the backend process? The data is replicating from source to destination, but what is the backend process? What is the backend process? What exactly is happening? How the data will be replicated and when the data will be replicated? When the data will be replicated? Whenever a new object got replicated, right? So for that, what we call that, the S3 bucket. The S3 bucket, we have some kind of what we call that replication rule we are going to create, right? And how that replication rule knows about what we call that your new object got created. So here we are creating some rule, right? We are creating some rule, and this rule is going to monitor your S3 bucket for new objects. Whenever there is a put action is happening, then that is called as there is a new object got uploaded. So this replication rule is a different feature or a different resource, right? That is monitoring your S3 bucket. Monitoring means what it is doing? It is reading your S3 bucket. So this replication rule requires a permission to read the data from your S3 bucket. And then what is happening? We have a destination bucket and the data will be copied to the destination bucket. So here on the destination bucket, it requires a write permission. How this replication rule will get the read permission on the source bucket and the write permission on the destination bucket? Let us say if I would like to allow you to read the data from the source bucket and to write the data to the destination bucket. How can you get the permissions? By using the IAM policy. But here the replication rule is not a user, right? Then how the replication rule will get that read permission on the source bucket and the write permission on the destination bucket? Rule is a resource, right? Or a service, a kind of a service. How can you provide the permission to the resources? By using the concept called IAM role. By using the IAM role, you can provide the permission to the one resource so that the resource one can manage the resource two. So in the same way here, we need to provide the permissions using the concept called IAM role. So you can select choose from existing IAM roles, but we don't have any roles yet. So that's why from the drop down, you can select create new role. Select create new role, and the role will be automatically created with the minimum required permissions. AWS will create that required role automatically. Now the replication is going to replicate the data from the source bucket to destination bucket, right? If you would like to enable the encryption while you are replicating, you can enable the encryption also. If you don't want any kind of encryption while you are replicating, you can ignore that. Then we are replicating the data from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket. So you have all the objects are getting stored using the standard storage class. So do you have any specific requirement that all the objects in the destination bucket to be stored in a different storage class? That depends on the use case. If you are maintaining the destination bucket for a backup purpose, then no need to maintain all the data in the standard storage class. So in that case, you can select like standard IA or something, right? So even that is possible here. Under the destination storage class, if you would like to store all the objects in a different storage class from the source bucket, you can enable the checkbox, change the storage class for the replicated objects. In the source bucket, all your objects will be in the same storage class, like whatever you upload. But while it is replicating, once it got replicated to the destination bucket, the storage class will be modified. I will select standard IA. I will upload all the objects into the source bucket using standard storage class. But once they got replicated to the destination, in the destination bucket, the data will be maintained as standard IA. If you don't want to change the storage class, just you can uncheck that particular option. Okay, so now here we have 4 advanced replication options available. The first is replication time control. What might be the meaning of that? What might be the meaning of replication time control? It seems it is somewhere it is controlling the time of the replication, right? If you enable that option, which is available on a chargeable basis, if you enable this option, whatever the object you upload to the source bucket, 99.99% of the data will be replicated to the destination bucket within 15 minutes. If you upload 1000 GB to the source bucket, so what is the 99.99? 999.99 GB will be replicated within 15 minutes. If you don't enable that option, it might take a lot of time because it has to transfer a huge amount of data, right? So I will ignore that option because I don't need that, because it will cost me some additional amount. So here, delete marker replication. What might be the meaning of that? If you delete the object from the source bucket, that will be updated with the delete marker, right? If I enable this option, the same delete marker will be replicated to the destination bucket also. So object will be deleted, but that will be available in the backend. So if you create a delete marker on the source bucket, the same delete marker will be replicated to the destination bucket. What if I remove the delete marker? The same thing will be deleted from the destination bucket. Or if I delete any object permanently, if I delete any object permanently from the source bucket, is it going to be deleted from the destination bucket? No. Because if you delete any object permanently, that is not marked with the delete marker, right? In the replication rule, only the delete marker will be replicated. If there is a delete marker, that will be replicated. If you delete the object permanently, that cannot be replicated. That we will see manually. Okay, right. So here, if you change any kind of metadata, that will be replicated if you enable this option. But I don't want to select any of these options. I will select only the delete marker replication so that we can observe if you delete any object, that will be marked with the delete marker in the source bucket, and the same to be updated in the destination bucket also. So click on save. Now it is creating a replication rule, and now you got a message. What is the message? Replicate existing objects. Would you like to replicate the existing objects from the source bucket to destination bucket? If yes, you have to select this option. This is the new feature available on Amazon S3 replication rule. So select yes, replicate, and then click on submit. Would you like to run the job automatically, or would you like to wait the job after some time? Automatically. So instantly the job will run and all the 3 objects will be replicated. And then just you can, if you would like to generate the completion report, you can enable that also. And to store that report, you have to select a S3 bucket. So by default, it will generate a completion report and where that report to be stored. I will select one bucket, any bucket, that doesn't matter. I selected one bucket called versioning something, versioning 30 June 2022. Once the job got executed, the report will be stored into this particular S3 bucket. And again, this job also requires some permissions to read the data from the source bucket and to store the data into the destination bucket, right? That's why I will select choose from existing IAM roles and make sure that create new role, because we don't have any role for that one-time batch job. Then click on save. So you can observe that automatically the existing 3 objects will be replicated to the destination bucket. If you don't create this job, then the data, existing data cannot be replicated to the destination bucket. So here you can see status is preparing. It will take a few minutes of time. You have to wait. After that, automatically the 3 objects will be replicated to the destination bucket. So while it is doing, I will leave this as is. So I will open a new tab and I will go to the S3 bucket, S3 service. And here, if I go to the destination bucket, if I open the destination bucket, you can see there are no objects yet, right? But in the source bucket, we have 3 objects available. These 3 will be automatically replicated into the destination bucket once the job got executed properly. So you can see it is active. It is ready to run. Total objects are 3 and the percentage complete is 0%. That means it is not yet started. So once it is done, you can see 100% complete. And if there any object got failed to replicate, that you can see here, how many objects got failed to replicate, and every information you can see here. Or you can go to the bucket which we selected to store the report. So here you can see a report also. Here you can see a report also. But that report will be available once the job got executed successfully. Let me click on the job. And what is happening here? So here you can see a replicate role. One IAM role got created and that was assigned to this particular job. If you would like to check what is the content available in this role, you can click on this arrow mark so that a new tab will be opened with the role and you can check what is mentioned in that particular role. What is the status here? Percentage complete is 100%. Total succeeded 100%. Total failed 0. And it took like almost like 1 minute 31 seconds to complete this job. And if you go to that particular bucket, versioning bucket, you can see what we call that report results. And if you open this CSV file, you can see the list of all the objects got replicated from the source bucket to destination bucket. Okay, so now let me go back to our Amazon S3 and let me get into the destination bucket. Destination bucket, and you can see all the 3 objects got replicated. And what is the storage class here? Standard IA, because in the replication rule, we configure to store into the standard IA in the destination bucket. Does it change the source bucket also? No. If you go to the source bucket, you can see the objects are still in the standard storage class. Now I will upload few objects into the source bucket so that the objects will be automatically replicated to the destination bucket. So now what I do is here, upload few objects into source bucket and confirm that those objects got replicated into the destination bucket. Right now I am in the source bucket. Click on upload and you can add some files. And then just you can click on upload. So the same 2 objects will be automatically replicated to the destination bucket. So totally 5 objects here. And if I go to the destination bucket, you will get all the objects into the destination bucket automatically. Okay, I upload the source bucket only. You can see one object got replicated. And the other 5th object also will be replicated into the destination bucket using the standard IA storage class. Glacier to? I didn't get your question. Okay, like your question is like, in the source bucket, you would like to upload the object using the Glacier. So in the Glacier, we have a 3, right? Which one you would like to upload? Flexible or instant or deep archive? Deep archive. First, I will show you with the instant retrieval. Then I will show you the deep archive. Okay, let me click on add files. So let me select a different file. Okay, error file. I am uploading into Glacier instant retrieval. Yeah, am I uploading to source bucket? Yeah, source. Upload. So in the source bucket, I uploaded one object into the Glacier instant retrieval. Now I am going to upload one more object using Glacier deep archive. So index, a different file, properties, and Glacier deep archive. So I uploaded. So now what you guys can think? What is your expectation? What is your expectation? What is your expectation? Does it replicate? If yes, is it going to replicate to the same Glacier storage class or standard IA? Standard IA. Okay. So do you think any challenge there? Like, is there any disadvantage? Okay. Let me go to the destination bucket. What happened here? We didn't got all the files. We got only error.html. Where is index? Okay, let me show you. Source, right? Wait a second. So error.html is in which storage class? Okay, index.html is in. So we need to check these two files, error.html and index.html in the destination bucket. So this is the destination bucket. How many objects we have? Okay, let me refresh the page. Okay. So now here what you can check, which object is not replicated? Why? Index.html is in which storage class? Deep archive. Is it available for immediate access? Without having an availability, how it will be replicated? So the same thing will be applicable for Glacier flexible retrieval also. Then you might ask a question like, why that Glacier instant retrieval got what we call that replicated? Because the Glacier instant retrieval storage class is available for immediate access once in any quarter. In a given 3 months of time period, you can access that object with immediate access once. That's why the Glacier instant retrieval object got replicated, but not the other one, which is a Glacier deep archive. First, to replicate it, the object should be accessible, right? There is no, it is not available for access. That's why it is not replicated. Okay, right. Okay, so now the next thing what we have to check is delete the object from the source bucket. Do you guys know the difference between the deleting the object and deleting the version? If you delete the object, object will be marked with the delete marker. If you delete the version, that will be deleted permanently. Okay, right. So what you guys can expect if I delete any object from the source bucket? Because we enabled replicate delete marker in the replication rule, right? So once the delete marker got created on the source bucket, the same thing will be replicated. So what I do is I will go to the source bucket, select any of your object. Let me select standard ia.txt, standard ia.txt. Let me click on delete. So it will ask me to type delete, click on delete objects. What happened? Does that object got deleted permanently? No. If you click here, you can see that this is marked with the delete marker. Now the same thing will be replicated to the destination bucket or not. If I go to the destination bucket and if I refresh, how many objects I can see? Do you think that the object got the delete marker got replicated? No, not yet. Just wait. Wait for 2 minutes. It has to be replicated. It has to be replicated. Destination bucket. Automatically the same delete marker will be applicable on this, and you cannot see the standard ia.txt object here. But if you click here, you can see a delete marker on this. Now it seems now it got replicated. Wait a second. Okay, how many objects are there? Standard ia.txt got missed, right? That means the delete marker got replicated. Create a delete marker. We done with create delete marker on the source bucket, and the same thing got replicated. Right? Okay, now if I delete the delete marker in the source bucket, what will happen? If I delete the delete marker, what will happen? I mean, what will happen in the source bucket? What will be deleted permanently? Forget about that. Right now, the standard IA object is not available to access, right? If I delete the delete marker, the standard ia.txt is available for access, right? That will be restored into the bucket. Object will be available. So the same action will be replicated to the destination bucket or not. Okay, now what I do is I will delete the delete marker from the source bucket. Just type permanently delete. So what we have done, delete the delete marker from the source bucket. What will happen? Object will be available in the source bucket. But what will happen in the destination bucket, that we have to observe. Already we deleted the delete marker, right? Now the question is, does the delete marker will be deleted from the destination bucket or not? If I delete the delete marker in the source bucket, object will be available back into the S3 bucket and anybody can access. The same thing will be applicable on the destination bucket automatically. Let us see that. So this is the source bucket. Right now I am in source bucket. So object is back into the objects, right? And if I go to the destination bucket, what happened? It will not come. Even if you click here, you can see the same delete marker as is. Okay. So now the another question is, if we delete any object permanently, delete any object permanently from the source bucket. How to delete objects permanently? By deleting the version, the object will be deleted permanently, right? So you can say delete any object or a version permanently. If the object doesn't have any versions, you can see only one version, and if you delete it, that will be deleted permanently. If it has 5 versions, you can delete one version and you can check that the same version got deleted in the destination bucket or not. Simple thing, whatever you have done in the source bucket, you can observe something, right? The same thing you can see in the destination bucket or not. That you have to observe. So right now I am going to the source bucket. This is the source bucket. And what I do is I would like to delete onezone ia.txt permanently. So to delete this object permanently, I have to click on show versions first, right? And select onezone ia.txt and click on delete. So it will ask you to type permanently delete. That means we are deleting that object permanently. So is it going to be updated in the destination bucket? No. If yes, there is no concept, or you cannot use that as a backup, right? If it is going to be deleted permanently from the destination bucket, there is no use of using that replication rules as a backup concept. You can wait like as much as you can, but you cannot see that this can be deleted. That will be available forever. Manually, you can delete from here. Okay, if I delete some objects from the destination bucket, is it going to be deleted from the source bucket? No, because there is no rule, right? Okay, so let us say I have a different requirement that I would like to replicate the objects to 2 different buckets. Is it possible? I would like to replicate the data to 2 different buckets. So here, this is one S3 bucket, right? Let us say this is one S3 bucket. Let us say bucket number 1. And here I have bucket number 2. Already we have seen how to replicate. Now I would like to replicate the same data to the bucket 3 also at a time. How can I do that? Whatever the data got uploaded to this bucket, I would like to replicate to this and to this also, 2 and 3. How can I do that? Have you seen any option to select multiple S3 buckets? No, you can select only one, right? So there are 2 different ways. You can create 2 rules, 2 different rules. The rule 1 will copy the data from 1 to 2, and the rule 2 will copy the data from 1 to 3. Or you can do in a different way, like this. You can create a rule here. Whatever the data got replicated from here to here, then here to here. Like this, you can do like to multiple S3 buckets. Okay, is there any charges for the replication rule? For creating the replication rule, there is no charges. But whatever the data you transfer, you replicate, based on the size of your data, you will be charged. But that's a very nominal. Just you can do the practice. It will not be charged more than like few paisa. Okay, even it will not cross 1 rupee also. You can do the practical for that replication rule. There is very nominal charges because we don't replicate a huge amount of data, right? Okay. So this is about the replication rule. Are you guys clear on this or any questions? Okay, then we will see one more thing. Like how can I upload the objects into S3 bucket using CLI? Because we know like how to upload an object using the browser. What if the object size is more than 160 GB? You cannot upload using the browser. You have to use some CLI or some kind of tools. Do you know any tools? S3 browser, I think I have shown, right? S3 browser, you can use any kind of those tools. But how to use CLI, AWS CLI tools to upload or download the objects? Okay, so first we have to get a user. Any user, it can be a root user or an IAM user, that doesn't matter. But the thing is that user must require a permission. So what are the steps? First thing is install AWS CLI tools. How to install? How to install the AWS CLI tools? You have to download from AWS site itself, which is aws.amazon.com/CLI. So you can download according to your operating system and you can install it. Once you install it, then what is the next step? What is the next step? Configure the access key ID and secret access key. All right. Then access the S3 buckets. Now, how to configure? I think already we have seen that, right? So how to configure? There is a command called AWS space configure and follow the on-screen instructions. It will ask you to enter the access key ID. It will ask you to enter the secret access key. Then it will ask you to mention a region. And then it will ask you to enter a output format. You can use US East 1 and you can use the output format as JSON. Okay. So now I will show you that like how to configure also. So first I need to generate access key ID and secret access key for my root user. Or if you'd like to get for a different user, you can get that also. So here, IAM. Can you see the root user in the IAM console? Root user is not an IAM user, right? So then how can you manage the root user from the IAM console? Okay, I'm going to IAM only. And if I click on users, you cannot see the root user here. You can see only the IAM users. As any user, you can generate the access key and secret access key for any IAM user. But nobody can generate the access key ID and secret access key for the root user. Root user himself can generate his own credentials. Nobody else can generate. So I already logged in as a root user, right? So to generate the access key ID and secret access key for the root user, click on the account name, click on security credentials, the way how you can reset your password. I mean, change your password. So here you can see access keys. Already there is one access key, but I don't know, like, I don't remember that. So just why I'm deleting it. Wait a second. I will remove that. Okay, so click on create new access key. You will get the access key ID and secret access key. So once you install the CLI tools, open the command prompt, then type AWS space configure. Then it will ask you to enter the access key ID. The first one is the access key ID, then secret access key, region name. I will go with US-East-1, which is a Northern Virginia. Format JSON. Now I am done. So by using these credentials, whatever the commands I can type here, my CLI tool will be able to communicate with my AWS account. Do you know any commands? Okay. So first I would like to list out what we call that list of S3 buckets. So list all the S3 buckets in AWS account. Whatever I start with hash, that is the comment. Below that, I will type the command. So generally, the commands will start with AWS, then space. You have to type the service name, and then you have to give the actual command. If you don't know the command, just you can type question mark symbol or help, so that they will show you the list of commands on the S3 service. I will go with ls, which will give you the list of all S3 buckets in that particular Amazon account. So here, let me clear the screen. No, what is the command? CLS. Okay. So AWS space S3 space LS. Now it will display, wait, no hyphen. The request signature. Might be problem with the keys which I provided. I missed the C, you can see. I didn't copy the last character of the secret access key. That's the problem. The error belongs to that I am using the wrong access key ID and secret access key. I missed that last character C. Okay, let me reconfigure. Okay. AWS space S3 space LS. So then if you provide the correct access key ID and secret access key, then it will show you all the commands. I mean, all the buckets in that particular AWS account. Now I would like to copy, or I would like to upload the data into this particular source bucket. So generally how the command looks like is, or I can say upload the objects from laptop to S3 bucket. So AWS space S3 space sync this will be the command. Source means from where I would like to upload the objects. Where I would like to upload the object is in my computer. In my computer, you can select any folder, that doesn't matter. So I will go to C drive. So this is the objects I would like to upload. So then what is the path? This will be the path, right? So this is the path. From this particular location, I would like to upload the objects. So the command will be AWS space S3 space sync. That is a source location. And then the destination. Where is the destination? Destination is to this bucket, right? Okay. Then that will be this one. S3:/ the bucket name. Wait. Is this backward slash or forward slash? No, it is completely opposite to this one. It is a forward slash, right? Okay, I guess it is a backward slash. If not, I can change it. Okay, so now here I will go there. And before executing that command, I would like to check how many objects are there in that particular S3 bucket. Let me go to S3. And we are trying to upload the objects into this particular bucket, right? So there are 6 objects available. Okay. Now I'm going to paste that command and click enter. Okay, so the command is not the backward slash. It seems that is the forward slash. So to identify that, you can check the S3 bucket. If you go to the S3 bucket, there is a concept called URI, right? URI, whatever is the slash available in the URI, that you have to use it. In the commands, you have to use the URI. And in the browser, you have to use the URL, which is forward slash, I think. So what is happening? The objects are getting uploaded, but let it be complete. It seems there is one object which is 150 MB. So obviously that will take some time. And you can see the data is uploading with 1.8 MB per second. That depends on my internet connection. If I have a faster internet, the object might be uploaded with 2 MB, 3 MB also. So here, this you have to modify. This is the forward slash. So what if you would like to download the objects? Command will be the same, but in this case, the source will be S3 bucket and the destination will be my laptop, right? Always source is a general term. From where you are initiating the copy, that will be the source. In the previous example, the source will be my laptop location, but now the source will be the S3 bucket, because from S3 bucket, I am copying the files to my laptop. My laptop will be the destination. So the command will be the same. The difference is this will be the difference. Okay, wait a second. What I do is to make sure that we are doing it properly. I mean, whether the objects got downloaded or not, before executing the command, I will remove all the objects from the test folder. So if the download got succeeded, we can see all the objects from the S3 bucket. That's how you can verify the commands are working or not. Okay. What if you would like to copy the objects from one bucket to another bucket? It will be the same. But in the source, you have to mention the URI of the source bucket. And here you have to mention the URI of the destination bucket. The syntax will be the same, but according to the requirement, from where you are copying to which location you are copying. From always the source to will be the destination. You can choose any 2 buckets in your account, and one you can use as a source and one you can use as a destination. Okay, it seems all the files got uploaded from my laptop to the S3 bucket. So here, let me refresh. How many objects you can see? 20 objects. So from that particular test folder, all the objects got uploaded. So now the location is empty, right? There is no object. If I execute the download command, objects from that particular source bucket or the S3 bucket will be downloaded to my local computer, to this location, C drive, test folder. And you can see there is one error. The warning message, skipping file. One file is unable to download. What might be the reason? Object is of storage Glacier. Storage is not available for access, right? Without having an accessibility, it cannot download the object. That's why that object index.html, which is in the Glacier deep archive, is not available for downloading from the S3 bucket to the local computer. The same thing will be with if you copy from bucket to bucket also. Earlier, we used to have this particular syntax to manually synchronize the existing objects from one bucket to another bucket, because the replication rule will not replicate the existing objects. This is the syntax we use. Copy the objects from one bucket to another bucket. Okay. But the disadvantage with that is it don't, what we call that command will not read that replication rule, and it is unable to replicate the data into the specific destination class. By default, it will replicate to the source standard storage class only. But you can use some additional parameters that you can include into the destination bucket. The data can be uploaded into a different storage class also. Everything you can have to use additional parameters, like you can like storage class, something will be there. And you have to mention the storage class like standard IA. Like this, you have to mention. So what is happening here? It seems all the data got downloaded. So if I go to the C drive, you can see all the files. All the 20 files got downloaded. So this is how you can use the CLI tools. Whatever you can do using the browser, the same thing you can do using the CLI also. Even you can create the bucket also. If you don't know what is the command to create the bucket, just type AWS space S3 space. You can type help. It will give you the list of commands. CP, MV, RM. So here you can go through all the things, and you can get with example also, like how to use that command, how to exclude everything. Like if you would like to copy only a file with a specific extension, then you can use these kind of a commands. So include .jpg. So it will include only the files with .jpg extension. So for everything, you can see every command with example command also, syntax and the example command. So here website, that will be available to enable the static website hosting. And here somewhere RB will be for remove bucket. MV will be kind of moving, LS list, CP kind of a copy. So every command you can see, you can read the description. The source directory is this. Any include or exclude filters will be evaluated with the source directory prepended. So here you can see all these things. This command will match, should exclude. So you can use all these description to understand about the commands. I think nowadays they came up with a few other new commands also, like S3 sync or something is there. They're different. Every time they will provide some few new tools and new commands also. Older commands will work and the new commands also works. And there is a site called docs.aws.amazon.com. So you can go to CLI. So you can see all the commands and the information about each and every command. You can go to the user guide. This is the place where you can learn about each and every command, how the command will work, so how it will be working and what kind of commands you have to use. Everything you can see here. see command structure, how the command structure looks like, but that is not required for us. That is mandatory for the DevOps and the developers. But if you are interested to know like how it looks like, just you can go through this particular page, docs.aws.amazon.com/CLI, where you can get the complete information, like with examples you can see. Amazon S3. It will list all your Amazon S3 buckets. Okay. Right. So this is how you can use CLI, command line interface tools, to communicate with S3 service. So are you guys clear, or any questions on this? Replication rules and CLI tools to communicate with Amazon S3. Okay, so if you guys are clear, let us stop the session and let us continue tomorrow. So almost I think we are done. So we have very few topics left on S3. I mean, very few features we can complete in 1 or 2 days. Okay, then we can move on to the next services available on AWS. Yeah, it will take 2 days to complete the buckets. We are not yet done with the object log, and we are not yet completed the bucket policies also, right? And access logging. So that will take like 2 days or so. After that, we can go with the cloud front. Okay, thank you everyone. We'll continue from tomorrow.